Hey, welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. Well, I'm on my own now. Beth is off to meet Manang boyfriend, her long distance relationship. They're all over there, Talik Lake. They took Talik Lake and Bibi with them, and so the four of them are off there to Cebu. I took them down there to get the 3 o'clock ferry, and so I'm here on my own. So what the heck did I used to do before I was with Beth 24 hours a day? Well, anyway, here's some of what we've been doing. So, Tiger, what are you doing? Why are you in the middle of the porch? Well, we've got about 14 tiles left to do this now. 14 tiles. And we can just do it. If he's very careful, we can do what has to be done. Hello, Nana. So there's Nana, she's inspecting. Is it okay, Nana?
Okay. Very
yes?
Nice. Very nice.
Okay. Then it's good. I think I better let that whining dog out. So, okay, let's go. Come on. Come on, Goes. Yoda, Goes. Goes. Come on. Goes. Go. Go on. Goes. 14 tiles. Oh, I just realized that we're going to need more than 14 tiles, I think. Because we've got the stairs to do. Oh well. We will see what we will see. Meantime, the goats are eating the plants, and the babies are doing what they normally do, which is get into mischief. Hey! Hey! These little animals are so cute. Right. I remember the last video that I made of them. They were sitting on the Amacon, and well, not just sitting on it, they were getting on it and falling off and getting back on and falling off and getting back on, and guess what? And there's Papa Goat, I think. Oh, what are they eating now? So we've actually pretty well covered the inside of the house, this part of the house. So here's another thing. Put it back up. We're gradually getting tidied up as we use our materials. Then gradually the rest of them are being disposed of. It's a slow process, and there's so much building that's got to come here that it's one of those things about how much do you do before you start messing it up again. So we'll transfer very soon. We'll transfer when we get cleaned up down on the forecourt. What can I call it? The forecourt. To that's a bit of a grand way of describing it, but I think you understand. The front of Nana's house down there. As we use those materials up, then we will be able to clean up there. But we're not going to move those materials just for the sake of moving them. So that's our issue. we're going to have to make a footing for that retaining wall that goes around there, and also all of that material is going to be, pretty well all of it I think, is going to be used on forging a path right round the side, so that we don't wait for the rain to make that into a mess, which, believe me, it will. So here we're looking mainly at the day's work from Beanie the tiler. And yes, I was very pleased. I like that. I like that pattern on the tile. But the other thing is, I think that we've pretty well seen the changes for Nana's house. So why not we take a walk? Never quite sure with goats whether they're going to be amenable, but ours seem to be. You always think what great looking goats we have. Look at that incredible pattern even down on the legs, and he's got that old beard, and guess what it's called? A goatee. Now I know why they call it a goatee. He's tied up to the mango tree. So it looks like they are doing very well down here. Now we've had a terrific amount of clearing done down here, look. And what are those down there? Chickens. The creatures I love to hate. And here's another mama goat. And that mama goat looks to me, with my inexperienced city eyes, to be very pregnant. Anybody disagree? Those horns could bring tears to a man's eyes, I think. Hey, come on. Come on, baby. Come on. Yeah? Not quite so. Oh, look what's happened here, look. Round and about, and then round about again. Let's take it the other way. Oh, look at this. How to shorten a line in one easy lesson. So, another one. There we go. Okay, now it's a long line. And a lot of clearing has been done here too. It all takes time. And this is Balalut. Hello, Balalut. How's your English these days? Are you doing your English? Come here. Are you practicing your English? No. But you're working hard, yes? And how about your cockfighting? You're doing that? Huh? You have a cock? A fighting cock? No? Huh? You have a fighting cock? Yes? One that goes... Yes? A winner? Okay, I think that's about as good as I did. How are we doing? Well, see, we're getting there. It's looking very nice. So for those of you who are looking first time, this is an extension. You can see from the doorway there, and I'm sure that you can see, even on camera, you can see the new cladding, the new amakon, and that's the new part of the building. And this building is, this extension is of Managlinas, and it is for the CR, so the bathroom. And where that window is there, that is the window for the washing area. So they've made a laundry area where Lena's washing machine can go in. Believe me, it won't be stainless steel like you Westerners are used to. But it will be functional. Bogey! And here's Bogey coming to say hello. Hello there, Bogey. Hello there. And he's been fighting again, look. Bogey, you're a mess. And you too. So there's a lot of giggling. A lot of giggling around here. This is Talia's house now. Used to be Lena's house, and this is the house that Taliklik was born in. And that little bump at the end there is the cooking area. Let's go and sneak a peek into what's happening here. What's happening here? A lot of giggling, a lot of laughing. Why? There's Talia and Nizel. I know that they wouldn't mind me poking the camera in. Okay. Nizel and her family came to live here by kind permission of Lena, who was not living in that house, but because of fond memories there, Taliklik was born there, and for a while, Lena, quite a few years ago, shared some time there with her husband. Not that that was a happy union, but anyway, he spent most of the time that I knew him, he was sick, and then he died soon after I got here. Natalia came from way up in the mountains. We built a house for her and her family when they were abandoned by a husband who decided that he would go and find someone else. And that does happens all over the world. And then they had problems with an uncle who, I don't know how you could see Nizel, but she's a young, lovely girl, and unfortunately the uncle forgot what an uncle is supposed to be, how an uncle is supposed to be a protector of children, and he started to have designs, and it became very, very awkward and very threatening. So after a hearing at the barangay, eventually Nizel was sheltered here with her mom and her brother. So that's their little house. There's their supply of water, which comes from our supply of water, which is up on the hill there. You can see those two barrels. Well, surprisingly, those two barrels are fed from the well, which is way on the other side of the hill, and they are kept full by an automated electric motor which switches on and off and keeps them filled. And that then comes down underground, and it leads to here, which is their supply of water. Now I don't believe they drink out of that, but we used to, not very long ago, we used to. So, what you're looking at now is very simple life. All of this wood here will have been collected, and it will be chopped up, as you can see there. And they'll use this tree stump to chop it up, and they'll use a bolo, and that will be burned. And it will be burned open fire cooking. Even in Lena's house, open fire cooking. And in Nana's house, she wanted to make sure that there would always be somewhere that she could cook when supplies ran out, which they do. I'm trying to find a dry place. This is the little dog that comes up and gets abused. Hello, babe. Hello there, baby. Okay. 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 He's not sure. So it's that time of the day when the sun is really disappeared, but it's just casting a lasting glow on the sky up there. And because we had quite a rain even last night, a big flock of birds there, look. They live up in the coconut trees. And this is Porgy, and God knows what he's chewing on. I don't even want to know. But you're going to see, up there you can see a motorcyclist, and he's showing you the way of the road. That gives you a little bit of scale. Look at that tiny figure on a bike. He's just going around. And we got the blue, which is still stuck in there. I've been too busy, either too busy or a lack of inclination. And we're going to pay Rado, and he's going to go out there tomorrow, and he'll dig the underneath out, which is stopping the blue from driving out. It got stuck in there when it was very muddy, and once you slip into that side ditch, there's no getting out. There's Rado's house there with some kids all playing outside. You know, as an adult, and shall we be kind to me and say in my maturing years, I look at this scene with children playing, and this is their backyard. Look. Our house. Lena's house. Talia's house. And then coming back around through the rice fields, Rado's house. This is their backyard. Their backyard. Children here can range among all of these hills. There are creeks down there that they can go swimming in. There are all kinds of adventures that they can have. They can actually catch certain wildlife. There are huge lizards down there to be caught. There are snakes. Yeah, try telling a kid that you shouldn't play and yeah, they'll listen to you, won't they? Now I know that life is already being spoiled by electronic stuff. That's where kids get very, very muscular thumbs and very, very weak bodies, and they start to get a little overweight, because if you suggest to a Western child, shouldn't you be out playing, if you can get them to look up from the screen, you'll be pretty lucky. But even if they do, it will only be momentary, and they'll say, why? You'll have to give them a reason to play out. Now, look how tiny those figures are down there. And this is where they can roam. They can go all through this, and they lead a certain kind of life. And that certain kind of life, from a Westerner's point of view, is Westerners will be thinking, and I'm only posing just the various viewpoints here. I'm not advocating that either one is right or wrong, but I'm looking at that kind of life as a kid, producing a certain freedom of spirit, and then looking at how in parts of the US at least, parents don't allow their children even to walk to school 3 or 4 blocks. They're just not allowed to. Here, every day, the kids in our little community, our little set of 4 families, the kids walk to school. Now that's, I think we have, let me see, probably about 6 or 7 or 8 kids who walk. And then there are some other kids who live over the hill, over there, and they may join. And there are some kids who live over that way, right, going over that hill, and they all walk to school. And from here, it's probably about 3 miles, maybe a little bit more. And unless the weather gets really very bad, in other words, it's a typhoon or a tropical storm, and it makes the road so muddy that, just like having a snow day for those kids in the north of America, they have a day off because they literally can't get to school and arrive in a state that is possible to continue their study. So that's it. Now there we've seen some I thought we'd seen, whoops, nearly fell over. Well, they're staying out, they're very shy. There she is. That's Nizelle. So how can we give a kid a childhood like this and yet educate them into what is a changing world? Now look at that kid. He's running through the rice fields. Now if I did that, they'd be burying me tomorrow. Or earlier. So we're seeing the last of the sun now. Just hear how quiet this is. And it's almost a Leonardo da Vinci sky. But one when he was already tired at the end of the day, so he didn't try that hard. But there are some lovely colours, some blues and greys, and off-white there, look, silver. Pretty awesome. Now, even with my rough tired out old ears, I can hear kids talking down there. I can hear dogs barking in the distance. I can see somebody walking home there from work, I think. Brings tears to my eyes when I think of how different this childhood is to the childhood that I had. I was born in 1939, and in 1939 was the outbreak of war with Germany. That was what became World War II. And in World War II, sweets, candy was rationed in Great Britain. It wasn't referred to as Great Britain then. It was more, well, I knew it as England. I thought of Scotland as a poor kid in Hume. We didn't call it Hume. We called it Hulme, Hulme, and it was part of Manchester, a slum area of Manchester, very poor. And Manchester was an industrial town which came in as a target for the Germans when they started bombing. And they would have a bomb which was a flying bomb, and it was a rocket with wings, and it may have had a very primitive guidance system on it. I doubt it. What they did was they pointed it, they set it off, they launched it on a ramp, and they filled it they calculated, the Germans, very clever people, calculated how much fuel they would need to get it to a certain place, and then they'd load it, shoot it off the ramp, and off it would go. Now, if it managed to get through the defences of England, then it would fly until it ran out of gas, and then it would fall. And anybody that was in the vicinity of that bomb would know what was going to happen, and they would listen to the sound, and it would go boo. And when the boo stopped, it would gradually glide and it would explode, and it had a very big payload, so the devastation was actually pretty bad. Now, when I was a kid, very young, started in 1939, so the war ended in 45, so I was a 5-year-old. I was playing outside, I was going out. If I heard the sirens, if bombers were on their way, then there would be a siren that went off, a little bit like the sirens now that they use for telling people to go to work, or that work had ended. Same thing, always has the same association for me. And my mother would be working in Dunlop factory, and in the Dunlop factory she and many other women would be at their bench, and of course it would be quite a fortified building, so if the air raid, if the siren sounded, then they would take shelter within the factory. But after the air raid had happened, there would be what was called the all clear, and another siren, a second siren would sound the all clear. And when it sounded the all clear, news would be brought to the factory, because there were so many women that were working there. And my mother told me that they would stand by their benches and they would listen to a voice over the intercom, and it would say which streets had been bombed. And when that happened, the women who lived in those streets would know that their house might not be standing. And when I used to go as a small child, I used to go with my father into the air raid shelter, which was a concrete, heavily fortified concrete, like a concrete shed in the middle of certain streets, and we would go and we would sit through the bombing. And if bombs dropped close, then obviously we would wonder if it was our house that would be standing. And I'm lucky to say, we were lucky to say that our house was always standing. But houses opposite and around us would be in ruins. And then later, in a way that children have of not facing reality, us kids would go and we would play in the bombed out ruins. And when you went into the bombed out ruin of a house that had been bombed perhaps the night before, obviously our parents didn't know that we were doing this, but we would go in there and everything would still be intact. Sometimes food on plates at a table, chairs turned over with jackets. And we would go and all of this, the actual situation would fly over our little heads and we wouldn't actually know what we were looking at. And it didn't touch us. But of course, thinking back now as an adult, I realize that what a time this must have been for my parents. My father was almost deaf and couldn't hear the siren when it went off to warn us of an incoming raid. And even as a child, even as a small child, an infant, I would be there with my dad and I would wake him because I would know that the sound was something that wasn't right. And he would gather me up and we would go into the air raid shelter. And in there would be people in there, what we call nightgowns. We called them nightgowns in the north of England, but in the more sophisticated world, it's in their robes. Well, they would be in their pajamas and their robes and their carpet slippers where they dashed out from their houses and gotten into the air raid shelter. And we would all sit in there and sing. And be a comfort to each other. So, wandering back to where I am right now, these kids are very lucky. And hopefully, as they do, they actually do make a change and they come from a house like this. Look at that little house. Imagine this, if you're not a Filipino, but you know Filipinos, chances are that the Filipino that you know who drives a car and is dressed beautifully modern and is gorgeous or is just a hard-working, often middle-aged woman, they are supporting their family. They're overseas workers. And they came from this. This was their heritage. This is how they lived. And things have changed hardly at all. Look at that little house there. It's hardly changed in 100 years. 100 years, just imagine that. Because very soon will be 100 years since World War II. So the next time you talk to a Filipino, spare a thought for just how different is his lifestyle, her lifestyle, from where she came. And here's the funny thing. Almost every Filipino that you know, as I say, if you're a Westerner, almost every Filipino that you know would give anything to be able to return home if they could only afford it. I think that's pretty incredible. Those are real roots. So we're running out of light. Any moment now the light will just drop